station of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are MC.
It's a warm Sunday afternoon at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, where it's the final game of this three-game series between the Texas Rangers and the Kansas City Royals. Hi, everybody. Steve Physiak, Rex Hudler with you. And for some reason, the Texas Rangers have been an incredibly tough matchup for Kansas City this year. The Royals are 0-6, and they've scored a total of 8 runs.
You know how sometimes when the Royals are on the road, when we're going to the airport in a certain city, we'll have a police escort out of town? Please, Kansas City finest, escort these guys out of town. Uncle, look how they've been doing it, Fizz. Pitching. Look at the runs. Only 8 runs by the Royals, and you flip on the other side, look at their 9 home runs. They've outpitched us and out-homered us. That tells the whole story.
And one of their best goes today in Yu Darvish, and for the Royals, it will be Ian Kennedy, who has really pitched well of late. We'll tell his story when we come back. Is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, for all for less. Biz and Hud back with you at Kauffman Stadium, and it will be Ian Kennedy on the mound for the Royals today. And this is a guy who has really evolved from a mainly fastball pitcher to he's really commanding his change and curve lately.
Yeah, you know, didn't get off to the greatest start this year in 17. Not a lot of run support, but there's something had to change. Dave Island sat down with him, and when you're a professional, as long as Ian Kennedy has been, it's hard to change. But he talked talked him into moving some more breaking balls in there. The high fastball's good, but that pitch there, that curve, that's going to work. His last 5 starts, look what he's done at 2.67 ERA. That's working. The opponent's average under 200. Oh, I hope it happens. Let's send the Rangers out with a nice parting gift, a L.
The guy on the other side is really tough. That is Hugh Darvish. And Joel and Monty will talk Darvish when we come back.
Series finale as the boys in blue try to avoid the sweep and turn around what has been a rough start after the All-Star break, and they have run into some really good pitching. Joel Goldberg, Royals Hall of Famer Jeff Montgomery, and it looks like they will run into some more good pitching today. Monty, when you talk about Yu Darvish, you're talking about one of the better pitchers in the American League. Our Academy Sports and Outdoor Leaderboard will show that, and his rankings also very good against the Royals in his career. How do they beat him?
Well, he's got great stuff. He's got a tremendous slider, but I think the biggest thing with Darvish, you got to try to wait him out. When he struggles, it's because of his fastball command. You'll get his pitch count up. We know that Rangers bullpen is susceptible, so you want to try to find a way to get Darvish out of the game as early as you can, but he's got nasty stuff, got a great slider, throw all of his pitches in any count.
He does struggle in the first inning, so you're right. Jump on him early. The numbers lately, 1-6 in his last 9, make it look like he's struggled. Not really his fault, has it been?
No, not at all. It's a Rangers team that struggled on the days that he started to put runs on the board. So hopefully today they will struggle to put runs on the board based on Ian Kennedy's performance, but he's thrown the ball extremely well, Darvish has.
Well, the Rangers struggled to put runs on the board yesterday, but 1 was enough. We'll see what happens today, regardless of result and the streak right now. You know those Royals fans are out in full force for Sunday baseball. Fizz and Hud are back after this.
Fox Sports Kansas City is brought to you by Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest lasting full-size pickups on the road. Find yours at your local Mid-America Chevy dealer. By the Missouri Lottery, every ticket played gives back to Missouri schools, so play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. And by Thoroughbred Ford. Every day there's a great deal waiting for you at Thoroughbred Ford. Here at Kauffman Stadium, the Royals will hope to solve the Texas curse. The Rangers have won 12 straight games against Kansas City. The Royals hope to change that outcome next. Jeff Montgomery at Kauffman Stadium for the final game of this three-game series between the Royals and the Texas Rangers. As we take a look at the standings, the Royals right now at 44 and 45. They're third in the American League Central, 3 games back, 2.5 games back in the wild card, but 73 games to go. A lot can happen, and the Royals just need to rebound from this 5-game losing streak.
And you know what? They have a chance to. Fizz, they've got to give the Rangers a parting gift, but they've got to get some big hits.
And as we check out the Rangers batting order, they're 14th in batting in the American League, but 3rd in runs scored, averaging 5 per game. Chu will be in there. Andrus is having the best season he's ever had, and Beltry is back from the disabled list, and he has done damage the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, Napoli makes me a little nervous, though. I'll tell you that. He's got 3 home runs against Kennedy.
And Ian Kennedy will make the start. This is start number 17 for Ian. His batting average against is outstanding. That's 3rd in the American League. Opposing batting average at .208.
Yeah, and you know what? Strikeout 76. You know, he's going to strike out his share of batters. He loves his fastball. Look at what the opponents are doing on that. Only .215. Curve, slider, change. He's got secondary pitches that work. And one of the reasons why he's improved over his last few starts is he's bringing more breaking balls in. He's spinning that ball more, and it's being very effective getting some strikeouts with him. Our forward around the horn Royals defense. We're going to highlight Drew Butera. 21st start in 2017. That's a high number for a backup catcher, but he's been very reliable. Doing a nice job putting his right signs down, but getting some timely hits for the team as well.
And Ned Yost was talking about Drew Butera and his excellence. He said this is why we can give Salvador Perez rest, because we have so much confidence in Drew Butera, and they want Salvi well rested for, as Ned said, the grind of the second half, those final 2 months of this season. Umpires Paul Emmels, the crew chief behind home plate. Brian Honora at first base. Scott Barry at second. And Quinn Walcott at third. The Rangers have won the first 2 games of this series, winning on Friday 5-3, coming back from a 3-0 deficit, and winning last night 1-0 despite excellence by Danny Duffy. What a pitching matchup it was between Duffy and Hamels.
No, the game of baseball is, there's been a lot of people that have had long journeys in the game, playing, coaching, scouting, and no one's been able to figure it out. Heck, they hit a couple of soft balls and they won. We hit line drives all over the field yesterday and couldn't get anything out of it. It's just a hard game to figure.
And Ian Kennedy knows that Texas will be on the attack. Ian has allowed 17 home runs this year, and 9 of them have come in the first or second inning, and Chu does have that power. He has 12 home runs this year. Stands deep in that batter's box. So Ian says, okay, you're going to attack my first pitch. I'm coming up and in. Chu had the game-winning hit last night. He hasn't always been at the top of the order. He does have 43 RBIs this year, Chu, but a very patient hitter with 49 walks. He had tried to tease him away, and it's a 2-2 count.
Kennedy's, you know, he's made some adjustments, mainly in his pitching, on his pitches, and the curve and the slider. Those are 2 pitches he's using a lot more of than he did earlier in the season.
Chu yanks the fastball foul.
They're looking for heaters, and the whole league has found out that Kennedy loves that fastball, and he has such a high percentage of strikeouts with it as he did last season. But Dave Island asked him to make some changes, and when you've got 7-8 years in the majors like Kennedy, it's hard to change how you've been getting hitters out. But he's starting to pitch more. There's 84 changeup.
Yeah, I thought his changeup was really good against the Dodgers last Saturday. The guy who got him was Jock Peterson with a 2-run home run in the second inning. But the off-speed really upset the timing of the Dodger hitters, and he wound up striking out 7 batters. Chu making him work, fouling another one off the left side.
That's not good for the first hitter. Already now 7 pitches. Going to take him at least 8 to get through it. Pitch counts have been an issue with Kennedy at times, especially because he loves that 4-seam fastball above the belt, and hitters just get a little piece of it. Attacks his pitch count.
To right field, Bonifacio barely has to move, now trots back a few steps and makes the catch, and they got him on 8 pitches.
Yeah, Kennedy beat him on the fastball there. When you use the term beat him, he didn't get the barrel to it. His barrel was behind. So Kennedy beat him and got the out. If he barrels it, that's a different story.
Now Elvis Andrus, and Rex, we were talking about him having another great year, and he is entering that time in his career where he is at his elite level. He's 28 years old, and he has a career high 11 home runs. The previous high was 8 in 147 games last year.
Well, he was so talented early in his career. He's like, you know, he's like Lindor for Cleveland, the shortstop that's come in, you know, Correa, the shortstop for Houston. Those young shortstops really have the maturity at that young age, just like Andrus. He had that. It's hard to believe he's going to have 10 years in before he turns 30. That's amazing.
Yeah, he's just the 3rd shortstop in Major League history since 1933 to have 100 hits, 20 or more doubles, 20 or more stolen bases, and 50 RBIs before the All-Star break.
Walks have been an issue at times for Kennedy. He doesn't want to start it out here in the first inning. 21 walks issued in his last 10 starts since he returned from the disabled list.
3-1.
He must have heard me. He wants to get back in that zone. No free pass, especially with the power of the Rangers. They showed the power in game 1, and that's the reason they won the game. Yesterday, a little doinker hit beat the Royals.
Yeah, they had 2 opposite field hits in that 9th inning. One by Lucroy, and then after the sacrifice, Chu went to the opposite field off Danny Duffy and got the game-winning hit. Duff lost the game.
Tough loss.
There's a flare to right field. Bonifacio will make the catch, and 2 out.
Okay, very nice job making an adjustment out there, Bonifacio in right. Now, I didn't catch whether Rusty moved him in, but with 2 strikes, he moved in about 5 feet, and that made the difference. That would have fell in front of him. It's a little jam shot. Good adjustment there. You know, and outfielders can make adjustments without that man right there, Rusty Kuntz. Okay, you can tell by playing outfield with the hitters behind the pitch. If he's fouling some balls off behind, you know, to the right side, you can kind of move accordingly. I remember when I got to play out there, I could make my own reads. He didn't have to move me. You can tell by the pitcher, his fastball, or if he's a changeup artist, you know, if the guy's going to be out ahead of it. It's very interesting how you can make in-game adjustments without having to look at your coach, by just playing the game.
Kennedy facing Nomar Mazara. Swing and a miss in 0-2.
You're locked into the game. If you're sold and committed to a 2.5 hour, 3 hour game, however long it is, and you keep your focus, that keeps you from making mistakes instead of daydreaming out there. And we talk about tempo. That's the importance of the pitcher in his tempo, moving the game along quickly, helping the defenders focus. The Royals defense has been stellar all year long. You know, their team fielding percentages had been at the very top in Major League Baseball from day 1. So the defense is focused. They make plays for the pitching, and that's one of the reasons why the Royals are back in this hunt.
Zara pops it foul. He's been going through a very difficult time. Just 9 hits in his last 57 at bats, and that's seen his batting average tumble all the way to its current 256. But boy, what a talent. Still just 22 years of age. Last year at 21, he hit 20 home runs and knocked in 64. He was not in the majors for the full season.
See what he can do. Now he sprays the ball around pretty well. He's got some opposite field power, but he prefers the soft ones and the heaters inside. And he's going to pull it. He very rarely goes to the left, down the left field line.
'20th pitch of the inning for Kennedy. Awfully close with the curve.
6'4", 220 pounds is that Mazara. A lot of long arms, long legs. Sometimes it takes some time to get all the moving parts together to be the kind of hitter you want to be. And at 22, he hasn't figured that out yet.
Well, he still has been streaky. I mean, he's had incredible streaks this year, and then desperate times like we talked about. Just 9 for his last 57. There's 1 hit in this series. Well, he's put together a good plate appearance because Kennedy had him down 0-2.
Yep. 23rd pitch on the way. Not the kind of first inning that Dave Island drew up. Lorenzo Cain in center field is playing him to left center, playing him a little bit to the opposite field.
Well, the kid works the walk, and that will take us to Adrian Beltre. You never want to see the veteran with anybody on base, and he had 2 on, with the Royals leading 3-0 on Friday, and belted a home run that went about 440 feet, tied the game, and Napoli would win it with a home run.
Look at those career hits, man.
close in on 3,000, that's an automatic lock to the Hall of Fame. Or you're locked to the Hall of Fame and you unlock the doors and come in.
Yeah, he's 32nd all time. Next on the list is Sam Wright, who retired from the game, 2,985. The only players with 3,000 career hits while appearing primarily at third base are Hall of Famers George Brett and Wade Boggs. Popped him up. Merrifield backpedals and makes the catch, and Kennedy, he had to throw a bundle of pitches, 25 in the first inning. Merrifield, Bonifacio, and Kane coming up. Off for Kansas City, and then it will be Bonifacio, Kane, Hosmer, Moustakas, Brandon Moss, Escobar, Gordon, Butera. One notable absence is Salvador Perez just getting the day off. Royals want him strong for the second half and well rested. And Yu Darvish, 30-year-old right-hander from Osaka, Japan, one of the best pitchers in the American League.
Better believe it, 215 opponent average. That's not much worse than Ian Kennedy. If these guys are on top of their game, there may not be a lot of scoring going on today. He's got 5 pitches he likes to use: fastball, slider, cut fastball, curve change. His heater's pretty good. He'll rush it up there around 94, 95 miles an hour. He's a horse. You get a mistake like that right down the middle, you're going to have to capitalize on him or he'll get you. He's a road warrior, loves to start on the road. He's on his 8 starts this year. He's got a 2.32 ERA, 191 opponent average. He'll execute his pitches. He's a big guy, 6'5", 220. He brings it. He's an ace. You got him and Cole Hamels. You got a right-left combination. The Rangers, they could be dangerous. With a healthy Beltre, you got Napoli in there to go with some of their young talent. You can't count the Rangers out.
No, but they'll probably be taking a shot at that wild card with all the other teams that are going for the 2 wild card spots, because Houston has such a big lead in the West at 15.5 games, and they're getting healthy again.
Oh, yes, sir.
Dallas Keuchel coming back soon.
Happy for the new, the wild card, the extra one that was brought in. That gives so many teams and cities hope in this time of year whenever you get teams that jump out like that.
Like so many teams, Texas looking for an elite reliever because they've had trouble with their bullpen. Knocked off the glove, and that's a base hit for Witt.
Thank you. That's right. It's not a hitter in the world that wouldn't take that, and went from an out to a hit. Thank you. Defensively, we'll show you the Rangers and what they're doing here. Andrus, we talked about him when he was hitting solid. Look at all those starts since 2012. That's second most to our guy, Alcides Escobar, Iron Man. That was Whitley's 13th infield hit, for those of you interested, and that leads the ball club. Got good speed, Whitley. He'll take that. And you know what? Every hitter, when you play every day, even the guys that play once or twice a week, when you square that ball up and that guy makes a great play, that'll break your heart. So you deserve hits like that every so often.
Darvish knows Merrifield, good speed. He has stolen 14 of 15 bases this year. Bonifacio, the batter, who's knocked in 28. He's had a good series with 3 hits, including a double.
It's good to get Darvish's focus off the hitter.
Our Yellowwood bringing the lumber. We go back to April. Bonifacio's second major league game, and this is his first major league home run.
Little slider. Look at Darvish. He couldn't believe it. Oh, Bonifacio, he hit one way deep.
There's that breaking ball away that Bonifacio takes a rip at. 1 ball, 1 strike. Yeah, 2 days before that home run, he was sitting in his apartment watching TV with Ramon Torres, who's now with the Royals. And he got a phone call from his skipper at AAA, Brian Polberg, who said, "You're better than that." He said, "What, Skip?" And he said, "That strikeout on the ball in the dirt yesterday." Here's a line drive to right field. That's a base hit. Merrifield turns second, and he'll make it to third.
How nice was that? You gave Bonifacio 1 swing to put his power swing on him. Jarvis beat him on a slider. Now he's saying, I'm going to shorten up and doink him. Beautiful. Another breaking ball. Did not overswing. Now love Merrifield running the bases here. Okay, he was not tricked at all by Odor trying to trick him like he's going to catch the line drive. I love to see how he carved the corner at second. You base runners out there, you youngsters out there, make sure that you make that nice little left turn and carve that corner, hit the inside part of the base, just like Whitley did.
Royals with a great chance to take the lead on a fine pitcher. Yu Darvish, like so many excellent pitchers, you got to get them early. And that ball gets away, and here comes Witt. He will score. 1-0 Royals.
Beautiful. Things working well offensively so far early in this game here. Darvish, how do you pull a 4-seam fastball? Just like that. Lucroy wasn't expecting it out of the zone like that. I must say that's a wild pitch.
It was.
Thank you. Now Locane, he would like to be able to come through here in the worst way. He's hitting .276 with runners in scoring position, which is not a bad number. But 30 RBIs for a number 3 hitter in the American League, very low.
Strike 1 to Kane. And Hud, just to finish that story about Bonifacio before he was called up, he was with Ramon Torres, got the phone call from Brian Polberg, his skipper, who said, "You're better than that." And he said, "What, Skip?" And he said, "Striking out with that ball in the dirt." And he said, "Well, I'll try and improve. I'll be better tomorrow." And he says, "No, you won't. You won't be here. You'll be in the major leagues."
So Polberg was trying to mess with him.
Yes.
He was working him. That's great. How much fun that would be to be able to give information like that to a young player, especially for his first call up to the majors. That's got to be one of the great things about being a AAA skipper.
He said that's the most enjoyable thing he has being a AAA skipper, is telling a guy he's going up for the first time in his career.
Cool. Now I'd imagine what's last on the list is calling a guy in and firing him. Although they make up pretty words now like DFA, designated for assignment, option. And really what it is, Fizz, just a firing. You just got to take it and wear it and move on. Locane now working himself into a nice count. 3-1 here, driver's seat. Lucroy knows it. He's going to go out and talk to him. He says, hey, look, this inning is not started like we wanted here. There's nobody out here, but look, let's make a pitch right here. You okay? All right.
Darvish has struggled in the first innings this year. 9 runs allowed in the first in his 20 starts, and he has had a difficult time lately.
Okay.
Receiving no run support.
Nice to see those numbers. Yeah. Continue. Pedal to the metal. Locane. Bust him.
Out back.
Just missed it. And you know, Oklahoma City's in town this Thunder Day here at the K. You know, Locane from Oklahoma, he wants to get a good hit here this first time up, or some way to get that run in. How about a gapper?
Inside corner, strike 3 called, and Kane knew it.
Got to be looking to swing the bat with a runner out there. You're in the third spot. Anything too close, you know, you got to hack. It might have been in, but look, you can hit those balls out of the park if you pull your hands in. So look, I'm not saying that you know, it was not a ball, but just it's the mental mindset of a number 3 place hitter has got to be hitterish. He's got to drive the run in, be swinging. Don't want to get called out looking.
Now Hosmer, who had his 16-game hit streak end last night, still batting .314 this year. 42 driven in. Ball 1. Ned Yost was talking about the Royals' 5-game losing streak, and he said, you know, we have faced some really good pitching. Kershaw, Hamels. McCarthy pitched well last week, and so did Maeda in Los Angeles. They get Darvish today, and it's a ball struck foul to the right side. 1 ball and 1 strike. But as so many managers have said in the past, if you're going to beat a champion, you have to beat great pitching.
And you know, these Royals know this. They know all about that. In their championship years, when they won the American League and then they won the World Series in back-to-back years, they beat every ace in the league. They know what they have to do. But for here, Haas is much better looking to the opposite field, where he's hitting .434 when he goes up the middle.
And then a pickoff play is thrown into the outfield, and Bonifacio will get third base. So it's really been a troubling inning for Darvish. And Aaron, he didn't make the play on Merrifield's chopper up the middle, and then he throws a wild pitch that scored Witt.
Royals are really good at exposing the opponent's faults, and that right there is a whiff. Plain and simple. Giving us a run here, moving the runner over to third with less than 2. You got Haas, you got Moose coming up, premium run producers. Got to get the run home.
96 RBIs, and those 2 guys combined, Hosmer and Moustakas.
That's right. That's what their job is. With the infield in, opens up some holes.
And Hosmer pops it up, and the third baseman Drew Robinson will take care of Eric, so it'll be up to Moose with 2 out.
See if Moose can pick up the guys here.
25 home runs this year, and 1 came off Darvish back in April. Matter of fact, Darvish gave up home runs to Moustakas and Bonifacio within 3 pitches. Mike pops it up, shallow left, coming on. Mazzara. The Royals score just 1.
Oh well, 1's better than none. Whitley will take it. So will Kennedy.
enjoy a cold one to look forward to Miller time later in today's game. Brought to you by Miller Lite. Ian Kennedy had a 25-pitch first inning. Face Rougned Odor. Odor 0 for 7 in this series and 0 for his last 11. Still good power numbers, 17 home runs and 40 driven in.
He's got a little pop, but he definitely is one of those guys that likes to turn and burn. He's looking for one pitch middle in. Don't give it to him. 2 for 11 in his career off of Kennedy.
Odor and the guy on deck, Mike Napoli, have become very good friends. Napoli was one of the leaders for the Cleveland Indians last year and helping them to the American League pennant. Napoli took young Odor, who shares the same passion for the game. Try to tease him upstairs.
Yeah, and you know, Napoli, basically he's doing what he did with Cleveland last year. That's why Francona hired him. And then they went out and they blew Napoli off and picked up Encarnacion.
A swing and a miss. And Odor thought the ball was in the dirt, but Butera caught it all the way, and so he fires to third rather than down to first, and that is 1 out. Our Toyota League leaders. Well, just like Napoli, the Texas Rangers get most of the runs by way of home runs. Almost 50% of the runs are because of home runs, and they belted 137 this year. Royals 11th at 44%. We're from Italy. Beautiful Napoli.
Pinch hit home run he hit in game 1 that really set the tone for the Ranger bats. Just his second career homer as a pinch hitter. I was kind of a little bit surprised by those numbers. It's been around a long time. 11th year in his 12th year actually.
And that was off one of the Royals' better relievers in Mike Minor. Left a changeup up. Whack to the left side. Escobar gets there. Long throw. What a play.
Perfect runner, perfect play. Napoli not that fast. He hooked it. Escobar makes this play in his sleep. Just plenty of time. How nice is that? Ah, to have those kind of skills, Fizz, would be a beautiful thing.
You know, Hud, in the first inning you were talking about instincts and all of the sabermeticians, but I've talked with Alcides Escobar, and he said, yeah, I do look at the charts, but he goes, I still want to go by feel. And he said, sometimes I want to be able to read the bat swings. And in this case, he knew immediately the speed of the base runner, how much time he needed, stayed on top with the throw.
So many things that an infielder has to be able to calculate. Outfielders as well. Positioning is important, and defense is even more important. Making the play and catching the ball. That goes hand in hand in winning baseball. You save pitch count, you save runs. I mean, to tell you, it doesn't get enough credit, but the people and the fans that are watching the Royals, they know their brand of baseball. It's a beautiful thing.
Kennedy with a couple of strikeouts in the second inning, and the Royals head to the bottom of number 2 with a 1-0 lead.
Nice bounce back inning by Kennedy.
City. The big story, though, coming in Miami last night, that is Cody Bellinger with the triple to complete the cycle. How about that? The 9th ever Dodger in franchise history, just the 3rd since the move from Los Angeles. And when you think about all of the rookies of the year for the Dodgers, including Ryan Lefebvre's dad, Jim Lefebvre, and so many of the great names, he's the first ever Dodger rookie to hit for the cycle, guys. I know all the attention on Aaron Judge this year. I think Bellinger might be the best of the bunch.
And here is Brandon Moss going to left field. Mazzara with a long run, but he gets there, and there's one out. And Joel is right, because there's some amazing young talent in this game. What Aaron Judge has done in the American League, what Bellinger has done in the National League.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
Time for our sprint trivia. Name the only active player with 3 career cycles. Well, Carlos Gomez of the Rangers got his 2nd earlier this year.
Is that your guess?
No, because he only has 2.
Well, what's wrong with that? I mean, they don't happen all the time. You're lucky if you get 1.
But we're talking about 3.
Well, I'm trying to credit you for a good guess there.
Well, it couldn't be a guess.
Okay.
If I was saying a guy didn't do it.
How about Aaron Hill? I remember he's hit a home run, or a couple of cycles, I think, maybe more. And he's still active. He's with the who's he with?
Well, the last Royal to get a cycle was George Brett. And Whit Merrifield earlier this year only needed the single to get the cycle, and did not do it.
No,
we were pulling for him.
And what was impressive too last night, Clay Bellinger, was that he got the triple his last time up, and that's the hardest one to get.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Clay was his father.
Yeah.
Cody Bellinger, my bad.
Clay played for the World Championship Yankees in '99 and 2000. We had a chance to meet him last week when we were at Dodger Stadium. Escobar fouls it back. Esky 1 for 5 in this series, and that came on a home run down the line that hit the foul pole. He's been picking things up last 5-6 weeks, hitting .321 with 12 extra base hits. And he actually got a walk last night, his 7th.
Escobar did?
Yeah, first time since June 8th.
Shocked the house. Way to go, Esky.
Well, he's making Darvish work.
That's right. Wear him down. Nice play down the line by a fan. How about that? That's why you bring your glove, Mom. Yeah, show the kids how to play the game. That's right. That is beautiful.
Mom is my hero.
She snagged that with no problem.
Here on a warm Sunday afternoon at Kauffman Stadium. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Darvish got off to a good start, but he is 0-4 with a 4.85 ERA. 8 losses at the All-Star break, and still was named an American League All-Star, although he did not pitch because he had pitched on Sunday. Breaking ball in. How about this? Escobar working the count.
And you know, pitchers throw him a lot of off-speed pitches because they know he's so aggressive. They look at the statistics of the players they're going to face. It's not going to give him a cookie unless he has to. Right here, he will.
And he hits it sharply to left field, so Escobar is on with 1 out.
That's right. First time through the order, that pitcher, he's still going to challenge that hitter and say, hey, look, I'm better than you. But Eske got him. Great at bat and hit right there. There it was, right down the middle. Good swing. Very nice. Top hand, pulled it.
Now Alex Gordon 0 for 6 in the series and just 2 for his last 20. To see that batting average drop to 190. Continues to struggle to get to that 200 mark. Strike one.
See the Rangers defenses. That fan's got a great seat. He's loving that. Alex Gordon fan. The Rangers aren't playing him as much to pull here because it's mainly a double play.
And then he dumps one to left field. So the Royals, much like the first inning, with Merrifield and Bonifacio with back-to-back hits. Now it's Escobar and Gordon with back-to-back hits, although one out.
That's what just to get ready to say. Look, that pitch down the middle. Go to the opposite field, wait a little bit longer. Very good head position, nice hands, come right through the ball, get the opposite field hit. That's what's going to get the average over 200 right there. Bottle it up.
And that will take us to Drew Butera. He started last Sunday against Clayton Kershaw.
Drew's done a nice job in his spare time play. He gets to play once or twice a week. And he lots of times comes up in the clutch at big time. Shorten up, chokes up on the bat, tries to put the ball in play where it's pitched. Will take advantage of a mistake out over the plate. Look at Salvi. He's taking a chill pill today.
Drew down in the count 0-2. Good speed on with Escobar and Gordon.
Yeah, you know, watching Gordon over there at first base, Napoli's way off the base. He can get as far as Napoli can get.
And that ball is busted down the left field line into the corner, but foul.
Talked about Butera looking for that mistake. He got one there. He just couldn't help but get the hands out there. Okay, look at the defense now. You're going to see Odor's going to be right there. So they're all kind of pulled over towards playing him to pull. Now Alex Gordon here, he can get a bigger lead. He can get all the way even with Napoli there that would give him a shot at scoring on anything to the left or right of the outfielder. Just get as much as he'll give you there. And he is.
And then he throws that breaking ball and Drew swings over the top. 2 out.
Uncle Charlie. Hate this pitch. That's a beauty too. Look at that. Nothing you can do. 2 strikes. I like the fact with a runner in scoring position, at least he's swinging. That's what you do. Don't let the umpire call you out. That's what I'm talking about there. Got a guy out there, you can knock him in. Uncle Charlie will do that to you. He'll mess you up.
Now Merrifield, who has scored the only run of the game. He singled off the glove of Darvish his first time up, hitting almost .320 in the month of July.
There's a lot of young Royals fans that are watching the game today probably never heard the term Uncle Charlie before, but that's a term used for a good curveball, one that drops out of the sky. Uncle Charlie, Yellow Hammer, Yacker, there's all kinds of terms over the years that hitters have put on that pitch. Curve.
Other words we cannot say on the air. Usually described by hitters on their way back to the dugout. Now he has Merrifield down 0-2, and Witt's mad at himself for swinging at that pitch that may not have been in the zone. Darvish at 37 pitches. Warm Sunday afternoon.
See if Whitley will shorten up here and do what Bonifacio did at the top of the inning, top of the first. Oh, that was it. Good swing. Trying to take him to the right field there. That's what you want to do.
You were into that moment.
I'm into it today, Fizz. After sitting out yesterday, watching the Royals and on pins and needles, you know, watching my partner Ryan Lefebvre doing the broadcast with C.J. Nitkowski, I was all into it. I was worked up.
Tell you, it was a great matchup. Duffy and Hamels.
Sure was.
Pitch for pitch.
You like pitchers duel? That was it.
Merrifield to center field. It'll stay up for Carlos Gomez. He makes the catch, and Darvish gets out of trouble in the second inning. Top of the third inning, and the newest item at the Royals Majestic Team Store has just arrived. We just saw this hot dog race now on sale. Watch Mustard, though. At all team store locations within the ballpark is a Royals licensed fidget. Down goes Mustard. Down goes Mustard. These exclusive fidget spinners feature a design with all three hot dogs from the Hot Dog Derby race: ketchup, mustard, and relish. Visit a team store at the K and make sure to get your hands on the latest craze. Once again, Vegas got involved with the hot dog races and put the slowest runner in Mustard, which is illegal.
But he went down.
Ball is hit to left field. Alex comes on and makes the catch. One out. Kennedy threw 25 pitches in the first inning and then had a great second inning. Helped out a wonderful defensive play by Alcides Escobar, and only needed 11 pitches in that second inning. Here is young Drew Robinson. He hails from Las Vegas. In his first start, he hit a home run and a double, but not much since. .214 average.
Good for him. Some guys go a long time without getting a hit. Get them out of the way earlier in your career, your first career games. That's always a bonus.
Yeah, what was it? Tom Pachorik's brother only had one game in the big leagues, went 3 for 3 and then was sent down, never got called up again.
So he
hit 1,000.
Really? Oh, that's great.
He went 1 and 2. On a hot afternoon, Drew wants to get early count outs back in that dugout, stay fresh. Teased him upstairs. And Robinson has shown good power in the minor leagues. Hit 20 home runs at AAA last year and had 11 before the call up this year. Well struck to right field. Bonifacio will watch it fly, and Kennedy has allowed his 18th home run this year, and that ties the game.
Lots of times you can tell by the sound of the bat hitting the ball, and that's a breaking ball that stayed in the middle of the plate. Center cut, hanger. Right there, belt high. And when you get when you hit a curveball with the spin moving over the top, and you get the back underside, it accelerates that spin and really jumps. You don't have to take a full swing on a hanging curve, and you can hit it out, all because of the way you hit it. Take advantage of the spin.
Chu had an 8-pitch at bat his first time up, and then flied out to right field. Ooh, way up and in, and I think he got his hand.
Yeah, they're going to give him first on that. That ball, that undressed him. Oh, man. Watch out. It's coming at you. That is chin music, and caught is one of his fingers. It's just the second batter that Kennedy's hit all year in 87 innings coming into this game.
So Butera walks out for a visit with Ian after he gave up his first hit, a home run, and then hit the next batter. Now you move into the part of the lineup that has really been good, and Elvis Andrus, Nomar Mazara, and Adrian Beltre. Kennedy, mainly a strikeout fly ball pitcher. He has had 5 double plays turned behind him this year.
And that's immediately what an infielder's behind Kennedy is thinking and probably saying to Kennedy. Some infielders talk to the pitcher in between pitches, some don't. Depends on the pitcher. Lots of times the pitcher doesn't want to hear any chatter behind him. But I know, believe it or not, Fizz, I was a chatterer back there. I'd say, come on, bring us a ground ball here. Put it in his mind.
That's a shocker.
Yeah, imagine that, me chirping. But still, you want that reminder. You want your guys into the game. And it goes back to the tempo again. Getting that ball up there and throwing it. Kennedy using more breaking balls. Those pitches go down. The hitter's going to hit the top of the ball, keep it on the ground. Save the pitch count.
And Elvis, despite his speed, has hit into more double plays than any other Ranger this year.
Oh,
13 times.
He's a lane ball candidate. Lane ball, another term for a double play. Put him in the lane. You hear that talk around dugouts. Think of a lane as a bowling lane. No, no, no. It's a lane that hits it right at him.
There you go. A 6, a 4, and a 3 double play.
Roll them up. They'll have an eggs. That's exactly what we're talking about. Kennedy putting Andrus in the lane. Oh, nothing better. Out, out. Double play action here. Check it out. The worm burner, the lane ball. You call them a lot of different things, but what a pitcher says, it's my best friend. 1 pitch, 2 outs. There it was. First man sure, second man quick.
And since the Royals made a McDouble play, McDouble sandwiches are only $1 tomorrow. The McDouble play all season long at participating McDonald's in the greater Kansas City, St. Joe, and Lawrence locations. Boniface will lead things off against Yu Darvish. Jorge singled to right field his first time up. Now batting .257. He hasn't homered since June 25th, and that was against Toronto. That's up the middle, but backhanded by Odor, who had him played perfectly, and Jorge is the first out. Royals fans come out to the K on Tuesday against the Tigers for the next T-shirt Tuesday. The first 10,000 fans through the gates will receive a one-of-a-kind Summer at the K T-shirt presented by Stony Creek Hotels. To view all T-shirt Tuesday designs for the season and get tickets, visit Royals.com/T-shirt Tuesday. Now Kane, who struck out looking on an inside fastball first time up, takes strike 1. Darvish was one of Japan's top pitchers. He spent 7 years in Japan and went 93 and 38. Had an ERA that was under 2 when he was signed by Texas. That ball shot and fielded beautifully by Drew Robinson over the top, and he just does get Kane at first base. That's a nice play.
Sure was a good pick, but hey, how about Napoli? Napoli had a nice stretch over there to help him out to stay on that base. Kid Drew Robinson, you know, he's very versatile. He could play outfield in any of the infield spots. Look at him judge that. See how he stayed, kept his glove down low, and then he picked it. Look at Napoli stretching out, doing a good job of keeping it, his foot on that base.
Hosmer popped up third base with a runner on third. First time up, and tried to check his swing but did not, and it's strike one.
Nothing frustrates you more than that last opportunity Haas had, and that's a tough thing as a hitter. Less than two, you got a runner there over there at third base, and it'll pop up. I mean, you know, so. But in baseball, you have to be able to put things behind you. Got to forget about what happened and better accept what's coming and look ahead, because you'll get buried if you keep your thoughts on negative thoughts. Stay positive. Pull out the positive stuff. Dwell on it. That's how you succeed in this business. It's tough. Best hitters in the world making out 7 out of 10 times when they come to the plate.
Royals scored in the first. Texas tied it in the third, and a home run by Robinson. Trying to tease Eric. Now has a full count at 3-2. He went fastball and then back to the cutter.
Good job by Haas. Down 0-2. Now he's worked himself into a fastball count, and hopefully this early in the game, Darvish will think I can blow a heater by him. Let's see. More fingers usually mean a breaking ball. Fastball away. Nope. Okay. 3-2. Hard to figure this one. Anything close, be hacking. There it is. That was a little wrinkle. But Lucroy, the catcher, he put down a whole lot of signs that time. That means that the pitcher's thinking. Darvish is not real sure. Definitely doesn't want to throw Haas a fastball belt high on the outer half. That's where he lives. He rakes those to left field. Okay, now Haas is working in both pitchers now. Kennedy and Darvish over 50 pitches. There's Hosmer's spray chart. His money is right here. That's where he loves it. That's that high fastball he rakes right there. But middle of the field hitter like that, that's really what you want ideally. If you can hit like that, maybe you could be Eric Hosmer. Back up the middle, that's the biggest hole, usually.
Well, he works the walk.
That is a great plate appearance. For sure, Darvish is shaking his head. He's saying to himself, I had to take that many pitches to do that.
And he had him down 0-2.
Right. Couldn't finish him off. With 2 outs, make him pay. Check this out. Look at all of the pitches he expended to try to get Haas out and having him down 0-2, like you said. Moose has got to make him pay here.
One stat not talked about enough is that Mike Moustakas has 10 game-winning RBIs this year. Carlos Correa of the Astros has the most with 12, and Mike right behind him.
Darvish doing a good job of keeping it down, that's for sure. But he's falling behind. That plate appearance by Haas could have ruined Darvish. But with 2 outs, they don't have a lot of time. They got to get him. Moose hasn't homered since July 5th. He's ready. He's due.
Yeah, he had home runs in all 3 games in the Seattle series, then shut down by the fine pitching by the Dodgers.
Yep, time for a cookie.
He is 2 for 8 in this series, both hits singles.
And those were good. Those were opposite field up to the middle.
Popped up behind home plate. Lucroy back, but it'll find the seats. Moose has another opportunity. Mike was part of that home run derby on Monday. Was knocked out in the first round. He only lost by 1. But that derby can throw you off. We've seen a lot of hitters really struggle after that home run derby, changing their swing.
You know what? It does. But fortunately, I was happy when Moose didn't go on, personally, because that's what ruins you. If you go another 2 or 3 rounds.
And he smacks that one sharply to right center field, and it'll get by the right fielder Chu. Hosmer racing to third. They're going to send him home, and he will score. Moose is thrown out at third.
But not before the run scored. So, hey, look, he'll take it. Would have liked to have dropped anchor at second base, but didn't happen. Hug it, Haas on his horse. Excellent plate appearance with 2 outs. Got him this run. Look at him cut the corner. Look at Jersley windmilling him home. They'll take it.
The Texas Rangers join us in acknowledging the strong tech presence in the KC community with a tech night at the K theme ticket on Thursday versus the Tigers, presented by Konica Minolta. This theme ticket comes with a custom Royals portable power bank and a seat for the game. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit royals.com/theme tickets. Kennedy to Nomar Mazara. Mazara walked. First time up.
You know, those fountains, they look really nice today on a good hot day. But I just got to warn you, fans.
I'm sorry, you are not going swimming this during
I was
the
going
game.
to say you can't go in the fountains if you ever get here. You could be prosecuted. So please don't do that. Is that the right?
Do you just say what's ever on your mind?
You know I do. You know those spinners that we advertise for? I need those to kind of keep me focused. But that just it looked like a cooling environment there. I liked it. And I had a chance earlier in the year to visit the Price Chopper patio up there up in right field, you know, and I remember the fountains going up and how cool it was up there. I'm thinking, man, this is a good place to watch a ball game here. Look at that.
Swing and a miss, and down goes Mazara on a good pass ball with late light.
Mo Lottery Missouri lottery. That's his third strikeout. Fox Tracks will show you that four-seamer above the belt does its job.
Now Kennedy to Adrian Beltre. Time for our Sprint Trivia question and answer. The only active player with 3 career cycles.
There he is. He's in the box.
Adrian Beltre.
Impressive. 3. How about 1? 1 would be awesome.
And it's not like he's a speed guy where the speed guy is going to get that triple.
No, it just, you know what? Everything has to be lined up. As my grandpa used to say, your biorhythms are all lined up. Whatever that meant.
Ooh, there's a popper back towards us. And Beltre went down on one knee. Try and grab that low pitch.
There he is. Yeah, see that bottom, when it drops like that, why not go down another few inches and you hit the ground and it takes the pressure off your legs.
And Kennedy gets his 4th strikeout with another fine late moving fastball.
How about that? Yeah, and he pulled his head and everything. I bet Beltre was guessing there, just by the looks of that swing.
Now Odor, he might be 0 for 8 in this series, but dangerous bat. He likes that high fastball. One lefty has already gone deep. That was Drew Robinson on a hanging curveball from Kennedy with 1 out in the 3rd. Advantage Kennedy 0-2.
You know, Odor at 23 years old, he's a very young hitter. He's really already got him a nice little contract that he signed earlier this season. Gave him an extension, but his next strikeout will be his 90th strikeout, and that's just too many. He has good enough skills to where he can learn how to shorten up that swing a little bit and put the ball in play and hit for a higher average and get on base and be a little more valuable to his team. Just my opinion.
Well, he's 23, like you said, so he'll learn through that experience and fouls it straight back our way.
It takes time to figure out things up here. Of course, as young as these players are now, they didn't spend a lot of time in the minors to really develop their game, so they would know for sure who they were by the time they got here. But things are different in this modern game.
Is that the toughest thing that comes later, Hud, is figuring out what is the pitch that you as a hitter can do the most damage on?
No question. For a hitter, it's about knowing which pitches are yours that you can handle, and then typically the power comes later in your career. But these young guys, when they already found their power, now they're having to learn how to get the base hits later in their career. But we're in an era of swing as hard as you can in case you hit it, and you're going to strike out. So the home runs, strikeouts are all up.
Major League Baseball on a path to set records for most home runs in a season and also most strikeouts in a season.
Yeah, and then there was a time in the game when, you know, of course the money wasn't as good for the players, but there was more pride in not letting your opponent strike you out.
Well, all 3 Rangers strike out facing Kennedy in the 4th inning. Mazzara, Beltre, and Odor all gone by the K. Time for our Kubota Power Stats, and it's all about Brandon Moss. Yu Darvish allowing home runs in his career. Well, Moss, Trout, and Gardner have all taken him deep 4 times, and here comes Brandon, who popped up his first time up. And he swung at the first pitch he saw from Darvish and pulled it sharply foul, and then Yu was able to work him away and get him to flare it to left. His last home run was July 1st. That was the shot to center field. Pops that one up left side. Long run for the third baseman Robinson. He lost it in the sun, and it bounces innocently into the seats. Yeah, he threw his arms in the air like, I have no idea where it is. Got his shades down. Home run by Moss. I told you on July 1 went to the very base of the scoreboard, 474 feet, longest by a Royal. Strike, and he's down in the count 0-2. He's hit 10 home runs against Texas and 4 against this one pitcher. Royals trying to find some consistency from that designated hitter spot. Both Soler and Moss hitting under 200.
Well, you know, we just talked about the swing and misses between the two. Over 100 strikeouts. Not a whole lot of getting on base, putting the ball in play.
Brandon swings and misses and is out number 1 in the 4th. Missouri Tiger fans, make sure to get your Mizzou night theme ticket for Friday night when the Royals take on the White Sox. Fans with this theme ticket will receive a limited edition Mizzou branded Royals cap courtesy of Fox Sports Kansas City and Rally House. Purchase your ticket at royals.com/theme tickets.
Those drinks look good.
They have Buck Night on Fridays. Friday fireworks, always good crowds here at the K. Had good crowds for this weekend series. Almost 36,000 on Friday and 32,000 last night. Here it is, a warm Sunday afternoon. Escobar singled to left field his first time up. Gordon followed with a hit. Both were left stranded when Butera and Merrifield made out.
Now the Royals knew that Darvish was going to be tough here after losing the first 2. They don't want to get swept. So far so good. Foul. You hated that they couldn't get that second run in the first inning in. But Darvish talked about it in his 8 road starts this year. 2.32 earned run average. Just a 191 opponent average. He's a road warrior, so he pitches well when he's not in his home ballpark.
Well, he's one of the best pitchers in the major leagues. Came in 4th in the American League opponent's batting average, 5th in strikeouts, 7th in innings pitched, top 10 in ERA. And Escobar goes 2 for 2. He likes that high ball.
Better believe it. And a lot of hitters, eyes light up when they see that breaking ball come out of that release point about eye height. Look where it is. Look at that. That's eye height right there. And a hitter's eyes light up, and he's able to make the adjustment, stay on top of it, and get it down in front of the left fielder. Look at that. Escobar staying on top with a nice little swing. Good little back leg. Good balance into that swing there. Esky 2 for 2.
Escobar 2 stolen bases this year.
Good time for a hit and run. Reason I say that, you got a struggling hitter like Alex Gordon. You put the hit and run on, that means he has a swing at that pitch, try to hit the ball on the ground, and second baseman goes towards second to cover the bag. It opens up a hole, and it helps the hitter. Not only does it help your team, it helps the hitter sometimes. Alex He's got himself a base hit his first time up. And with 1 out, it's the best time to put that hit and run on. Now, won't do it with a hitter with 2 strikes. Because, you know, he'll strike out. If it's a bad pitch, you don't want to swing at that.
And that is strike 3 call. Gordon did not agree.
Look at his back door. Not even the back door. That was a good pitch on the outer half. Alex might have thought it was low.
But it looked like it was going to go outside and then hooked back in.
Good stuff.
That outside corner.
Yeah, Darvish is good.
Butera struck out his last time up, but right before he struck out, he hammered one down the line, and it missed being a home run by about 10 feet. Pops this one up right side. Odor battling that sun, makes the catch. That'll do it for the Royals, but they've had base runners all 4 innings against Yu Darvish. By Ford, going further so you can. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. Here in Kansas City, top of the 5th inning. Ian Kennedy has a 2-1 lead over Yu Darvish and the Rangers. Now Kennedy will face Mike Napoli, a guy who's had success against him in the past. Now you look down and you go, well, Napoli only 3 for 21, but all 3 hits are home runs off Ian. Napoli robbed of a hit on a great play by Escobar deep in the hole. There's the pitch, and this time he slams one into left field beyond Escobar even having a chance.
First pitch fastball, 4-seamer right there. It's what he wants. Now lucky he didn't hit that out. He stayed on top of the ball. And lots of times, you know, that the pitcher's trying to get that first strike in on the hitter. That's a good pitch to swing at.
Well, Kennedy was able to get an important double play to thwart a Rangers threat in the 3rd inning. Now he's facing Lucroy, who's been struggling of late, batting right around 190. His last 16 games, including this one, and he struck out swinging his first time.
He's grounded into 8 double plays this year. See if we can talk him into hitting into the lane again.
The Royals started the day 3 games back of Cleveland, and Cleveland this afternoon will be matched up against Oakland. Trevor Bauer against Sean Manaea. Rolled towards third, foul. White Sox and Seattle are tied at 5 in the 5th.
Yeah, the Oakland A's and the Washington Nationals made a trade today. They sent Brian Matson and Sean Doolittle, a righty and a lefty, from their bullpen over the Nationals bullpen. That's one area where the Nationals have been trying to improve. That might help them. But Oakland's played Cleveland tough last two games out of the break.
How about that? Tribe has lost 3 in a row. Chris Davis had the walk-off home run last night. The A's beat him. And there's a pitch just wide of the mark. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And I understand the Tribe is looking at Sonny Gray, the Oakland A's pitcher. Pitched well for Oakland the other day.
Believe it or not, that's been the weak link for the Cleveland Indians. Is their starting rotation. Last year it was the strongest point in their team outside of their bullpen. Good starters, it's just not being consistent this year.
He was able to get it on the hands of Lucroy, and he fouls it back 1-2. And that's why so many major leaguers were so impressed by what the Royals did, going to back-to-back World Series. It is so difficult to go wild card, division series, championship series, World Series, that full month of high intensity. Cubs certainly having a hangover this year. They're still trailing Milwaukee, although the Cubs are at 500, 45 and 45. They trailed the Brewers by 5.5 when the day began. The ball struck to the right side. Bonifacio will run it down. And our University of Kansas Health System injury report, Byron Buxton of the Twins, and the Twins are in front of the Royals in the American League Central. He was placed on the DL yesterday because of a left groin injury. Served as the Twins starting center fielder in 76 of their 90 games, and boy, is he accomplished as a defender, still learning offensively.
Yeah, it's hard to see that anytime a player goes down, but that's part of the game, unfortunately.
In the air to center field. Kane having trouble with that. Sun gets there just in front of the Fox Sports Kansas City sign, and racing back to first is Napoli.
Lorenzo Kane, he was waving for help on contact. You could just, he was looking for anybody near him. Look at his right hand, watching me saying, okay, hey, whoa. But fortunately, that he turned his head to the far right field side, and he was able to look out of the sun and make that play for Kennedy. That would have been hurtful. That would have hurt him.
And I remember the first guy that told you about that, to angle your body, was Billy Martin when you came up with the Yankees.
That's
and
right.
He got on top of you after you made a mistake out there.
I dropped a ball in the sun, but I had glasses on, but still, he told me, he still yelled at me and said, hey kid, look, in our day we didn't have glasses at all. Here's how we did it. You just got to turn your body away. Sure, the ball coming down is going to have a little different angle, but you can get it out of the sun, and a big leaguer should be able to make that catch. So as long as they've been playing baseball, the sun has always been an element in day games, and the wind as well. So you have to learn how to play them.
Thank you to our director Steve Kurtenbach for giving us that shot of the sun and some of the challenges that the fielders are facing today.
You know, and managers in the old days, it depended on who it was, but they yelled at their players. I mean, they weren't afraid to get in you, to get your backside. I mean, Yogi Berra was real gentle. He was my first big league manager. Then they fired him and hired Billy. Billy was a yeller and a screamer.
That's a contrast.
Then I went from there to Baltimore and played for Earl Weaver, who was a screamer, and man, he would lay into you.
Strike and a 1-2 count.
Remember, he yelled at me after missing a ball one time, a couple runs scored, and I came in, and in front of the whole team, he just yelled at me and said, I'll send you back to where you'll never come from, or you'll never see the light again. And I held my head up as he was yelling at me, thinking, he knows my name. That's pretty cool. That's how I was able to handle that. I didn't get down, didn't get mad, I didn't get upset. I just said, okay.
Now Kennedy does not want to let Drew Robinson get back in this count. Not 3-2. He had a 3-2 pitch, and he hung a breaking ball, and Robinson knocked it out. His 3rd home run this year.
He's going to pop him up here. High 4-seamer.
He's going to strike him out.
That'll work. 6 strikeouts, and give me some more of those.
Fox Sports Supports is proud to team up with Homes for Our Troops, building mortgage-free, specially adapted homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Learn more about how Homes for Our Troops is rebuilding lives and visit foxsportssupports.com. Bottom 5. Whit Merrifield fouls it off. Strike 1. Whit has singled and scored back in the 1st inning and flied out in the 2nd. Is that batting average right at .285. Does have 4 bunt hits this year, and Robinson right now back a little bit at 3rd.
Darvish, you know what?
He's creeping in.
Yeah, you know, Darvish, as firm as he is. Good call, Fizz. No, couldn't do it. Darvish was able to bounce it, or to bounce off of that mound. Good attempt, just wanted it down the line a little more. He would have had. Great idea.
Yeah, I just saw Robinson, who was backing up and then was creeping in as the pitch was thrown, and I saw Whit take a peek down that way and thought he might drop the bunt. Just needed to get it closer to the line.
Right, and when you're a bunter and you peek every time you get to the plate, that's good. You want them always to think that you're bunting. That way they'll come in and open up some ground. You can hit it by them.
Yeah, I remember the '76 World Series when the Reds played the Yankees, and Mickey Rivers was a good bunter, and he also would chop them towards 3rd. And Pete Rose would come running in, and I kid you not, he was about 40 feet, maybe 35 feet from home plate when he'd charge in, screaming at Rivers to, I dare you to bunt on me.
Right, and then he would chop it over his head. That's a good move for guys that can handle the bat.
But it really intimidated Mickey Rivers, and the Reds made easy work of the Yankees and knocked him off. Rose got in his mind. The 1-1 to Bonifacio, and he slaps it to 3rd. Robinson over the top. Throw out Jorge, 2 down. We're talking about Yu Darvish, one of Japan's top pitchers, and his final year in Japan, he went 18-6 with a 1.44 ERA. And when he was signed by the Texas Rangers, he told the pitching coach, "I have 7 pitches." And the pitching coach answered, "No, you don't. We're going to cut that back."
Not over here.
But even today, he has 5. He has the fastball, the slider, the cutter, the curve, the change. He doesn't throw the change that often or the curve, but he's throwing some good curves here. He hung one to Escobar, who singled.
At 6'5", 220, he's considered to be a big Japanese player. So he's big in size. Most of the Japanese players don't have the physical stature of a Darvish, and so with his power pitching, you know, they don't have a lot of power pitchers over there either. No wonder he dominated like he did.
Yeah, his father is from Iran. His mother is from Japan.
Okay.
And there's a chopper to Robinson. And it's a close play, and Napoli had to come off the bag, made the catch, and then tagged Kane as he was running by. So the Royals 3 up, 3 down for the first time today.
Miller Lite, Ian Kennedy. He's looking good today. Pitching his game, no question about it. Ian is skiing right downhill against the Rangers. He's executing his fastball. His little breaking ball's working too. His changeup's been effective. And remember, the Rangers are the only opponent he's not beaten with a minimum of 4 starts. So he'd like to be able to hang in there here. Offense is going to be a big part of that. He'd like to get a W, but he's going to have to get a little bit more runs, maybe, because this Ranger is a power hitting team. 6 strikeouts already.
Well, in 2 games against Texas this year, he's only allowed 2 total runs in 12 innings, but was handed a no decision last time out. And there's a solid single to right field by Chu, who's on for the 2nd time. 2nd straight inning that Texas has had their leadoff man on. He had that April 22nd start where he received a no decision in a 2-1 loss. Started Chu off with that curve. I mean, the Royals have really struggled, only scoring 8 runs in the previous 6 games against Texas. And the Royals pitching has been pretty good. Runner goes, pitch is swung on, fouled off as they had the hit and run on, and Elvis was trying to shoot one through the right side. To give you an example of, like Danny Duffy. Danny Duffy has allowed 1 run in 15 1/3 innings against Texas, but he's 0-1 with 1 no decision.
Yep. It's all about those run support, or the run support you get when it comes to your win-loss record. And then so win-loss records nowadays, especially when it counts for a Cy Young award, really they don't weigh it that heavily, although it's attractive. The more wins you have, it's about the ERA, the WHIP, and all those other statistics they use now. Because the starting pitcher should not be penalized because their offense can't give them any runs.
I think last night was really Danny's best game this year. I mean, he was in total command, had only thrown 86 pitches through 8 innings. And then they got a couple of opposite field hits in that ninth to beat him.
Yeah, I would agree. He had all 3 pitches working, and he was mixing them, keeping them off balance.
Chu goes again. It's up the middle. Perfect. Escobar right to him, and there you got the double play.
Thank you, Elvis. That's 2 ground ball double plays that he's grounded into now. That's makes it 15 on the season. Look at this. Doesn't get any better. Look at Escobar saying, thank you. Wow. I was already there. Step on the bag. That's as routine as it gets.
And how about Kennedy ducking to let it go through to Escobar?
Ah, let the good hands people take care of the business back behind you.
Ned Yost was talking about the losing streak before the game in his office. And Rexy said the thing that makes it frustrating is that Cleveland and Minnesota are stumbling and bumbling around, and we can't gain ground on them.
Yeah, this is the way the game rolls. It's you know, it's hard to tell, but it has been good for us that we haven't lost any ground.
High fly ball again. That Sun troubling Kane, but he bends his knees, asks for Alex to come over and help him out, makes the catch. The 6th inning, and we kind of have an Arizona spring training sky out there for the Royals.
You never know. I'll tell you what, it's not easy, but Locane was able to pull it down, and Kennedy said, hey, thanks, because that was another short inning. He might get to go out in another inning pitch.
Well, here is the bottom of the 6th inning. Hosmer, Moustakas, and Moss, 3 power hitters, and this is our sonic inning. Our contestant is Georgia Culster from Grain Valley, Missouri. Back-to-back Grain Valley candidates. About a 15-minute drive from here. If the Royals hit a home run out of the park, Georgia will win $1,000. But if the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, Georgia, you get 25 grand. Ooh, and Hosmer had a good swing at an 80-mile-an-hour offering.
Yeah, and after that excellent plate appearance where he walked in his last time up and saw 8 pitches from Darvish, he's due. Dodger Stadium against Kershaw. That's the last home run that he's hit. Opposite field job.
Oh, wow, that looked off the plate.
Sure did. But you know what? Sometimes the umpire, depending on who he is and what happens, it's hot out there, and if it's close, they'll ring you up and move the game along. That's how it goes. Paul Emmel, probably a little bit hot behind that mask. Remember, the umpires, they don't get to sit down in between innings either. They're on their feet for 3 solid hours, maybe 4.
Well, give that plate to Kennedy as well, because Ian pitching well, and he needed only 6 pitches to get through that 6th inning, so he's likely earned himself the 7th. Popped up, foul territory. Lucroy makes the catch, and Moose is out number 2. Hoping to give away some money to Georgia Colster from Grain Valley, and Brandon Moss will be the batter.
Georgia, you have a chance because Moss, he's got 4 home runs total in his career against this pitcher. That's a lot of home runs against one guy, especially Yu Darvish. Excellent pitcher.
Darvish has allowed 15 home runs this year.
Yep.
There is strike 1.
8 to right-handed bats, 7 to left-handed bats. Like to even it up right here. Make it 8 on both sides. Moss last homered on July 1st.
Yeah, we were talking about that last time up. That was
Okay.
that monster shot to center field.
Yeah.
Hit the base of the scoreboard.
Wouldn't that be nice?
And what I remember about that, it was a nice, easy swing by Brandon. Got the back underside. The center fielder took about 5 steps and then said, "Oh man, that's hit a lot farther than I thought." Throws that slider in there for a strike, and opponents only batting 173 off of that pitch from you this year.
That's a meaty pitch there, though. That ball was up. That's belt high.
Push to the right side. Door throws him out. That's 8 straight retired by Darvish. Make the most of your summer at the Ram Summer Clearance Event going on now, and brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, for all for less. The run you just saw scored by Eric Hosmer is the difference in the game. It broke a 1-1 tie on the Mike Moustakas double. Now Kennedy will start the 7th inning and have to face the middle of the order in Beltre, Odor, and Napoli. That trio has combined for 44 home runs this year, and Beltre missed more than 2 months of the season because of that right calf injury. He came out slugging, had a little time to get ready down in the minor leagues. Has 8 home runs and 30 RBIs in a little more than a month. 6 weeks. Moylan's starting to warm in the Kansas City pen just in case. Center field, Kane. Again, the sun a problem. But Lorenzo is there. He has that look on his face like, why me? A Sunday like this.
Yep, everyday game. It happens. He's looking for reinforcements. Look at him. He's saying, come help me, please. Look at him. He took his eye off the ball that late. Wow. You know what? Good recovery there. That's excellent.
And Alex was sprinting over from left.
Right. Now, there might be some folks at home watching on TV saying, you know what? I think that's maybe he's showing too much drama there. Well, if you think that, and you got somebody else in the house watching, get a baseball and go out in the backyard and throw one up and look in the sun and see how you do it. That's how easy you can reenact that.
I think I'd wind up with a broken nose.
There's a chance of that.
Here is Odor. But, you know, the great defenders are great communicators.
But, you know, the thing about the K here, and a lot of outfields, is it's so big, it's so large. I mean, it takes a while for, depending on how high the ball is hit, for the corner outfielder to get near you. Well, this 1-run lead that the Royals have here is pretty scary with this team, this offensive team of the Rangers, and that's how they win their games, is with a homer. So it's got to kind of, it's a nail biter like yesterday's game was.
Merrifield taking that short hop, throwing out Odor.
That's what you want to hit him on the ground.
The Royals and Fox Sports Kansas City are offering a unique way for fans across the Midwest to enjoy a game at Kauffman Stadium. It's the Raised Royal Fan Express. Fans in designated markets will have the opportunity to win a trip to the K. Next stop is Columbia on July 22nd. Go to Royals.com/Fan Express for more information. Napoli has hit the ball sharply twice. He was robbed of a hit by Escobar, who made a great play in the second and then singled to left. Dangerous batter. He's been hot. 5 home runs in July already. Strike in there. And did you know last night was only the 7th time that the Rangers have won a 1-run game this year?
Huh.
They're only 7-14, and they were ridiculous last year, leading all Major League Baseball 36-11 in 1-run decisions.
It's weird how that shifts like that. Another tester here. This ball's hit high and far.
Oh, man.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, man. Napoli's done it again.
I told you before the game I was worried about him. He's in a nice little groove here in this little 3-game series in Kansas City with the long ball.
Ouch.
Napoli, he figured it out that Kennedy's not going to challenge him middle in, so he's trying to keep the ball away from him. You see where these pitches are located, but with that big swing and his power, man, that's you got to credit Napoli for that. That ball was hit almost as high as it was far, and we're all tied.
Now Lucroy fouled off.
Hey, Luke, come on.
Napoli's home run that broke the tie in the Friday game came in the 7th inning. Now a shot to left field by Lucroy. So 2 times Napoli has gone deep in the 7th against Kansas City, and my goodness, they have been tough. And wow, you know, Kennedy so deserving of a victory. Now Ned's going to take him out. 6 2/3 of excellent baseball, only allowing 5 hits, but 2 of them home runs, one by Robinson and one by Napoli, that has tied it. This is our Chevy call to the bullpen, Peter Moylan. He can't pitch much better, but 2 mistakes, 1 to Robinson, 1 to Napoli, and it's a tie game. And fans, you can cheer on Alex Gordon on Thursdays in his fan section. Gordo Nation for only $35. You get a seat in left field, a limited edition Charlie Hustle brand T-shirt, and an Alex Gordon big head. For tickets, go to Royals.com/theme tickets. Alex got a big ovation yesterday with Nebraska night here at the ballpark. A lot of fans wearing those red and white Husker caps.
Yeah, that's enough to give you a big head. But Alex's head is not big literally, but they do have Alex Gordon big heads, if that makes sense.
Nope.
On the cardboard. It's okay.
I always like how you end it with, if that makes sense. I speak HUD, so it does make sense.
Thank you. See if Pete can get this final out here. Sinker slider, very effective when he's down low. He's a ground ball pitcher.
Witt to Escobar, inning over. But a home run by Mike Napoli has tied it. We'll stay right here at Kauffman Stadium and listen to Lauren Bratton sing God Bless America. As the Royals with 2 runs on 6 hits and the Rangers with 2 runs on 5. Now, God Bless America.
Please join us in singing God Bless America, being performed by Lauren Brayton.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet
different team, same league that he was at least going against. Jose Quintana's Cubs debut is against the Baltimore Orioles. Look at that, 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, and 12 strikeouts. We know how good he can be. Give him some run support, and even better. And don't look now, but Pud's buddy Buck Showalter, they're in danger of losing for the 10th time in the last 14 games. Talk is the Orioles will be sellers.
Yikes. Joel, and plus the Rangers, they're heading there next too, and they're playing pretty good baseball. Ooh.
Here is Escobar, who is 2 for 2 off of Yu Darvish, both singles to left field. The Royals have led 1-0 and 2-1, but home runs each time have tied it. And now Escobar was an insect in the area, and he was waving his left hand trying to get the insect out of his face. And that's the last thing you want to do with a 95-mile-an-hour pitch coming your way, is have something distracting you.
He backed out in time to get, I mean, before time was called.
Two and one.
Escobar has a chance to have a good day today. Couple base hits to left field.
His defense has been outstanding. Took a base hit away from Napoli in the second. He's turned 2 double plays that were mighty important. Hits that one sharply, but Odor was able to take it on the 1 hop. 1 out.
Nice play.
MLB.com At Bat is your #1 mobile app for live Royals baseball. Customize At Bat to stay close to the Royals with home screen icons, live scores, news, stats, video highlights, radio broadcasts, and more. Download MLB.com At Bat today to stay connected to the Royals all season long. Here is Gordon. He is singled and struck out.
Darvish is right on his average. He's averaging 6.1, 6 1/3 innings per start. That's what he's doing right now. That's where he is. He's completed 6 innings in 14 of his 19 starts. He's a machine.
And he's a guy who missed most of 2014 and entire 2015 season after the Tommy John surgery, and missed much of last year with right shoulder discomfort. This year it's been lack of run support. The Rangers have scored a total of 3 runs with Darvish on the mound in his last 5 starts, including this one. Two out.
Nice little breaking ball down and in.
Darvish waiting for his infielders to get back to the regular spots. They had played Gordon with a dramatic pull, 3 infielders in the right, 1 in the left. Now more of the traditional look, all fanned out. Butera fouls off, strike 1.
been some talk of you, Darvish, being on the trade market, you know, this before the 31st of this month, but I don't see how John Daniels and the Rangers would do that when they have a chance for a wild card spot. Him and, like I said, we talked about the left-hander Cole Hamels who threw yesterday. Those two, that right and left combination there is good.
Yeah, I think they'll be buyers. What they need is they need bullpen help.
Yep.
There's a base hit to left field for Drew.
It's a little 2-out knock. Let's see if Whitley can send Drew around for a little exercise on the bases.
Salvi just asked for the hair flip and got it.
Inside on his hands, but he's in swing mode, so he's able to rifle it out there for a base hit. That ball was a similar location to where Lorenzo Cain had in the first inning, but is called out, didn't swing it. And that just goes to show you can get hits on pitches that aren't exactly on the plate, but you have to be in swing mode.
Now Whit Merrifield singled, scored in the first. Since then has flied out and grounded out. Tried to bunt his way on last time up. This time Drew Robinson a little closer towards the infield grass at third. And here comes the pitching coach to visit with him. Doug Brocail will talk about how to work Whit Merrifield, because Whit does have a very good ability to take the ball with power to the opposite field, and
better believe it.
With 2 out, Butera could score on an extra base hit.
Yeah, coming into this game, Whitley had 78 hits. 29 of those are extra base hits. That's a good percentage.
That ball struck well. Up against the wall. Butera racing to third. They fumbled the ball, and Butera is going to score. Hart Jersley was going to hold him, but then Mazzara dropped the ball, and he kept him going.
Timely. Whitley again. Now that's his 19th double, and we talked about that's his 30th extra base hit. Now in 79 hits this year. That's right there in the wheelhouse. Hits it off the wall. Had some backspin. Watch it bounce. Okay, it bounced and spun right off the tip of the glove. Perfect. And Merrifield with 2 outs. He's going on contact. Way to go. Get that run in there for Ian Kennedy. There you go.
So the Royals take the lead, and it's our Chevy call to the bullpen, and Texas is taking out one of their best. Kansas City has jumped in front in the bottom of the 7th inning. Royals fans, if you can't catch a game on TV, you can stream games live on your mobile device. Download the Fox Sports Go app, log in, and stream the Royals. That was the 10th extra base hit in July for Whit Merrifield, and a lot of them have been clutch. I remember the big hits he had in Seattle when the Royals swept the Mariners on that road trip. And he comes through here at the K in the 7th inning to break that 2-2 tie. The new pitcher is Matt Bush. He's retired 15 of 17 in the last 5 games this month since he was removed from the closer role.
All right, don't stop there. Go ahead and get another 2-out RBI. That'd be nice. Now tune your bat up. At 5'10", 190-pound Matt Bush, he'll throw it mid to upper 90s. Slider curve. Look for the heater. Stay short to the ball. Put it in play. Bonifacio knows.
And they have changed the scoring on the hit by Merrifield. It's a double. An error on the left fielder Mazzara. No RBI for Whit.
Whitley doesn't care.
Gave the team the lead.
He's multi-hit Whit.
Starts out Bonifacio with a curveball for strike 1. Bush has a high velocity fastball in the upper 90s. He's appeared in 4 of the 6 games against Kansas City this year and is not allowed a run. 4 shutout innings. Royals are 1 for 13 with 5 strikeouts against Matt Bush.
Yeah, say look for the fastball. So first pitch he throws him a slider. Now there's a little heater there up, but still you want that fastball. It's a little bit easier to put that ball in play now, and it's never easy to try to make contact with a ball with a round bat, but you want the straight one.
Now Bush stepping off, a little worried about Merrifield. On Friday, Whit attempted a steal at third base, would have stolen it, but Bonifacio fouled the ball off. Up with the fastball. Jorge today singled his first time up. He's grounded out twice since. 2 errors in this game for Texas. None for the Royals. Three and 1.
That's it. Now Bonifacio, I like his approach. I can see him. He's going back just a little bit with his hands, and he's just trying to make some contact with that ball with his hands. No body needed. He's been very good with keeping his lower half of his body quiet, so he's not overextending and jumping. When a guy throws that hard, believe me, it's going to get to home plate. So just put your hands right on it.
Is he completely eliminating any breaking ball here? 3-1 count.
Matt Bush, when you throw that hard fizz mid to upper 90s, that's his best pitch. He's going with it right here. If he doesn't, then that means that he's not confident.
Merrifield goes and a swing and a miss, and Whit gets the steal of third.
There it was. He snuck a piece of cheese right by him. And that, like I said, that pitch at 97, 98 miles an hour, that's a good one. And Whit could have just walked in there. He'll take it. 15th bag.
A ball in the dirt, pass ball, he could score. Biggest lead in this game has been just 1. Ties Lorenzo Cain for the team lead in stolen bases, each with 15.
So you sneak a piece of cheese by him there, you're going to go back with it here.
High ball 4.
That's 99. That's firm. That's cheddar cheese there.
Lorenzo Cain was robbed of a hit back in the 3rd inning on a terrific play by Drew Robinson. And then Mike Napoli came off the bag and made a fine play to grab the baseball and tag Cain as he roared by. Lorenzo going through a little difficulty offensively, just 4 hits in his last 32 times up.
Look at these Brave fans out here braving that weather. Fizz, they're looking for a hit right here. Everything with 2. And not talking about Witt either. Whitley got it knocked in that go-ahead run.
0-2. Royals with a well-rested bullpen. Soria has been warming up for the 8th now that the Royals have the 3-2 lead. There's Joaquin.
Shouldn't take too many pitches on an afternoon this warm to get loose. 0-2. He's had success with the heater away. Let's bet he stays there.
They were sending Bonifacio. Bush has only thrown 1 wild pitch this year. And they will give Jorge second base.
They're going to give him a bag. That's his first major league steal, Fizz, and it was uncontested.
He didn't even have to slide.
How about that?
Odor and Andrus stayed put. Now a hit could give the Royals a 3-run lead.
7th inning or later, 1-run game. That's why he's going to get the steal there. And now no fielders indifference. O'Kane's getting closer. No doubt about it, this is a must-win for the Royals. They've got to come out of this little 5-game losing streak. It's not like them. But you know what? Everything cycles in baseball. It all cycles. They'll get hot again. They're just in a little down swoon and let it finish it here.
Also end their 12-game losing streak to this ball club.
That's right.
Seeing more pitches from Matt Bush. That time forcing fastball at 93. He's gone from 93 to 97 with his fastballs to Lorenzo.
And that's really 2 different pitches. When you change speeds with your fastball, that'll frustrate a hitter more than any other thing.
All this started with 2 out. Darvish got Escobar and Gordon, but Butera singled to left field, and then Merrifield drove one off the wall. Butera scored. Bonifacio walked. Another off to the right side. That last fastball at 99 miles an hour. And Lucroy calls time and wants to go out and visit with Matt Bush. This was the guy who was the first overall pick by the San Diego Padres back in 2004, but came up as a shortstop until they moved him to the mound. And that's where he really blossomed. Great athlete, only 5'9" with a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. Second and third for the Royals, 2 out.
He's getting closer. Maybe they'll put a wrinkle on this one. Yeah, there he did. Good job by Locane. He spit on it. That's good. Wait for the straight one. He's getting closer on it. It's just when that has that kind of giddy up on that heater, man, it's tough to catch it. It's got to be in the right spot. Like the battle here.
And then Lorenzo swings and misses at the fastball, down and away, and strikes out. But the Royals get the run to take the lead 3-2.
Oh man, Royals had one run, but then they tied it up. Drew Robinson did. Third home run of the year. Then Moose hit a nice double. I mean, a ringing double off the wall, scored Haas all the way from first base. Then Mike Napoli, wouldn't you know it? Nappy, get out of town. We don't want you here no more. Nice homer for his 20th. That gave him a lead until multi-hit Witt struck again. Look at the double with the clank. They'll take the error to go with it. Scoring Butera, who shed the piano off his back way before he got to second base, and he flew home. Nice job. There they are, 3-2. Good guys on top. Hope it stays that way. Now it's up to Jack and company. Let's see if they can hold these bats and pitch underneath them and get a W here.
40th game that Soria has pitched in this year. 48 strikeouts in only 37 innings. And he delivers strike one. Command is his strength. Facing Drew Robinson here, who homered back in the third.
That's right. 5 pitches. Soria has them. Fastball, slider, curve, change, split. Slow curves down in the dirt to surprise the hitter. Split fingers to finish him off.
I told you earlier that Texas, almost 50% of their offense this year comes from the home run. 100% of their offense has come from the home run in this one, with 2 solo shots, one by Robinson in the third and one by Napoli in the 7th. Good off speed there. He dropped that curveball on the outside corner, and Drew swung over the top.
Yeah, if you've never faced Soria before, you could be in trouble. Now this one here, you'd like, you know, that's not a bad location, but don't hang it, because he took a hanging Kennedy pitch out earlier in the game.
It was a curve too.
Yeah, it was a curve. That was just a little bit lower. See how the kid can handle Joaquin's split finger. That's a good one too. It's hard for the hitter to pick up the rotation on that one. He thinks it's a fastball.
Pulls it to the right side. Hosmer gets it to Soria for the first out. And Joaquin is tied for the team lead and for 10th in the American League with 11 holds this year.
Okay, there it is. That's the split finger he likes to use when he has a hitter down 2 strikes, and when you hit it, you hit the top of the ball, and when you have a defense behind you like Soria does, those are outs.
Now Chu, the batter, has been on twice, hit by a pitch and also singled, and he takes ball 1 low. Soria was in a similar situation after the Royals had the lead against the Dodgers last week and allowed a game-tying home run to Cody Bellinger in the 8th. Snapped a streak of 37 1/3 innings without a home run. Chu, a patient hitter. Two and one. Joaquin spent some time with the Rangers after his great success with the Royals as their closer. Foul ball.
Too bad, another inch. They'd had 2 outs there. Brian Onora, first base umpire, on the call. It was a little bit passionate with that call. Watch Brian. He says, all right, I hadn't had a chance to make a call all day like this. Watch him behind Haas. Careful, throw that arm out.
Got Robinson on a 2-2 count. Now the 2-2 to Chu, and he strikes him out.
Joaquin Soria has been a huge reason why the Royals have gotten back into this race, and they've solidified the bullpen. He's been steady. He's been good all year long. Just gave up 1 home run, and that was right before we left out on the break to Bellinger, the young man. He threw a changeup that was pretty well located on the outer half and down, and the kid went opposite field on him. But look, Soria, Jack, has been doing fantastic this season, and I hope he continues here through this one.
2.7 ERA since June 5th. Try to tie up Elvis inside. Elvis 0 for 3 today and just 1 for 12 in the series, and came in hot. And Drew needs some surgery to his glove. Kyle Turner is usually the glove doctor in that Royals dugout. Wonder if a little break in the action here as the Royals, with a 3-2 lead, they grabbed the lead back in the first inning on a single by Merrifield. Eventually got to third base and scored in a wild pitch. And after Robinson tied it, Moustakas doubled to give the Royals the lead. And then Napoli tied it, but the Royals jumped in front in the 7th with 2 out after a Butera single. Merrifield doubled in, drew with some help by the left fielder Mazzara's error. Swing and a miss, 1-2. New glove works. Just low. Didn't swing. got the first two batters, Robinson and Chu, out on 2-2 counts, and now has the same count on Elvis Andrus. And he cracks one in the alley left center field, and Gordon gets to it as quickly as possible. Just gets it into Escobar. Now the tying run is in scoring position for Nomar Mazara.
Two-seam fastball didn't do a lot, just stayed right in the middle. Most big league hitters going to hit that ball hard somewhere. If you're a pitcher, you're hoping that you hit it at somebody, but Andrus Casey put it in the right spot.
And this will be the first at bat with a runner in scoring position for the Rangers today. Both of the runs came on solo home runs in the 3rd and the 7th. Now Mazara. Strike one. Royals infield playing Mazara to pull. Escobar almost directly behind second base, but still on the shortstop side. And Andrus checking behind him if there's a play on. Up the middle. We are tied at 3.
Rangers not going easy. Last 2 hits have been pitches that were up in the zone. Yeah, that's above the belt even.
Beltre chases the first pitch he sees for strike one. 3 times the Royals have had the lead in this game. 3 times Texas has tied it. Waves at that curveball at 71 miles an hour.
Yep, slow one there in a good spot there. That's down and away. Got to be careful with Beltre. Anything out over the middle, he's so dangerous. He'll hit it out. Don't give him anything up. Keep it all down.
Beltre, a very patient hitter. He actually has more walks than strikeouts. 21 walks this year. He's popped up, struck out, flied out in this game. Didn't miss by much. The bottom of this inning, it will be Hosmer, Moustakas, and Moss. And that's 3 straight left-handers, and I'm not sure if Claudio's available. Here's the pitch, foul off. So the Royals will have 3 left-handers. Claudio has gone in back-to-back games, and he is not warming up in the bullpen, so the Royal lefties will likely see the right-handed Bush in the bottom of this inning. Right now, Soria wants to keep it where it is, tied at 3.
Yep. Mazara will be running on the pitch, so that ball in play out anywhere in the gap.
Too short. Escobar. But a run scores to tie it. When we come back, Hosmer, Moustakas, and Moss will be coming up. Baseball break. Tigers visit the K tomorrow through Thursday. They are 40-49, fourth place in the American League Central. When the day began, they trail first place Indians by 7 games. They might be in a trade mode soon. The Royals are 2-4 versus the Tigers, and the Royals and Tigers will meet 7 times over the next 10 days. When we go on the next trip, that's where we start, in Detroit. 13 of Kansas City's final 72. It's that ball club. Well, we will see Alex Claudio. He was never warming up down in the Texas bullpen. Just came out, threw his 9 pitches, and says, I'm ready to go. He's worked back-to-back games for Texas and was able to pick up saves.
Yeah, you know, he's going to throw a couple pitches, but like I mentioned, you know, it's awfully warm here, and when you don't throw all that hard, Claudio 83 to 86 miles an hour, doesn't take you long. 9 pitches out there in this heat, you're ready to go. He's a veteran. Fastball, slider, changeup. His changeup is his best pitch. Haas knows him well. Saw him last night.
And he delivers a first pitch fastball at 86 miles an hour. He barely breaks a pane of glass, but it's that sweeping slider. Well located.
Yeah, no, this is with the lefties coming up here. The 3 of them in a row. He's going to bring him in. He's very effective.
And he has not shown Haas that slider yet, or that changeup.
No.
He'll throw the change to both righties and lefties.
Haas, he owes him. He's 1 for 5.
2-1.
Just Claudio's giving up just a 140 average with 1 homer against lefties. Tough to pick up. Arms and legs, all the movement, all the deception along with the windup. Look at that. Winding it down.
And there's a chopper over the mound. Claudio gets to and throws out Hosmer.
Can you believe that? What a play. Most pitchers, they can't get to that ball there. Claudio's showing some athleticism. Wow, Haas looking for another infield hit. I'm surprised he didn't get it. That bounced off the plate. Whenever it's off the plate, look at that. Great concentration. And then he goes right to his throwing hand and throws him out. Some pitchers have a hard time chewing gum and walking, let alone making a play like that. Nice play.
Moustakas has the most home runs off of a left-hander. by a Royal this year with 7. And he takes down low.
Okay, now Moose has got him before in his book.
Slaps it to the right side. Fielded by Napoli, 2 out. The Royals staying with Moss rather than Jorge Soler. Brandon, a .379 hitter. He's only been up 29 times against lefties this year, but does have 11 hits, and 2 of them are home runs. Strike 1.
So that's the first pitch to all 3 lefties has been a fastball. So usually that's the best one. He tries to get ahead with that pitch, and then he's going to see Herrera loosening up to come in.
Well, you keeping that ball down, gets 3 ground ball outs, and we head to the 9th inning of play. Odor, Napoli, Lucroy will face Herrera. Trying to end a 12-game losing streak to these Texas Rangers. They are tied for the 2nd longest losing streak to 1 team with the Yankees. They lost 12 straight in '97-98. Baltimore 12 in 2006 and 2008. The all-time record is 23 straight back in the '69-70 season to the Baltimore Orioles. Herrera will try and get Odor, Napoli, and Lucroy out. Odor, a .232 hitter against right-handers this year, and 16 of his 17 home runs have come against right-handed pitchers. Royals, of course, will play Odor to pull, but not as dramatically as they did with Ian Kennedy.
That's because Herrera throws 6-7 miles an hour harder, so they're going to might be behind the ball a little bit, so they're playing it more straight up.
Heskey did move a couple of steps. Now you're closer towards second base.
Yep, upper 90s. Upper 90s fastball, upper 80s changeup, and a slider that's effective when it's down.
Odor looking for his first hit of this series. 0 for 10. Now 0 for his last 14. Fouled off. Oakland leads Cleveland early in that game 4-0 in the second inning, and that's who the Royals are chasing in the American League Central. Odor has struck out 90 times this year.
When you have success with that type of power fastball that Herrera has, you know, you want to stay with that in a situation like this. If you throw that changeup or that slider, that'll speed his bat up, and you got to make sure that it's not in the middle of the plate. You beat him.
Odor, high fly ball to right. Bonifacio near the track is there to pull it down.
Yep. Yeah, it was close, but he beat him. Herrera beat him. He couldn't get the meat of the bat there.
Time for a Dodge drive of the game, and it was Mike Napoli's last time up. That tied the game.
Yeah, that was a fastball that was up and away on the upper outer part of the strike zone. Napoli stayed with it the best he could and hit it out 402 feet. Earlier this season in Detroit, Salvador Perez hit a 425-foot out.
Napoli's been hot in this series, 4 for 9 with 2 home runs and a triple. He has tremendous opposite field power. That triple came down the right field line and hit high off the wall.
I'm going to be careful with a slider or a changeup with Napoli. I'm going to try to stay firm and stay up in the zone like he is now. Excellent low ball hitter, really good breaking ball hitter. Down. Ooh, that's it there. Now that's some good fuzz. That ball had a little bit of movement on it, little hair on it there, that's for sure. Look at that little two-seamer running coming in. Good spot off the plate.
Herrera back even at 2 balls, 2 strikes. Napoli now with 20 home runs, and 14 have been against right-handers. He just knocks that one foul. Royals begin a 4-game host of the Detroit Tigers next, tomorrow through Thursday. Back in the Central. Rest of the week, Detroit and Chicago. And there is a swing and a miss, and he got him on the slider, but he kept it down.
Yep, that's important. Work the outer half of the plate. Good pitch, good location.
Lucroy taps it on the plate. Herrera up with it, and he will throw out Lucroy. So good job by Herrera. 1, 2, 3. The Royals will have the bottom of the order coming up in the 9th inning. Escobar, Gordon, and Rubutero.
As the Royals looking to get the win, and maybe it'll happen in dramatic fashion. Joel Goldberg back getting ready for Boulevard Royals Live. Coming up with Jeff Montgomery. Could the Royals have their 4th walk-off of the year? Plus Ian Kennedy quality again. He has got a nice roll going and certainly did his part. Now it is up to the Royals bats to try to get the win. We've got it all coming up on Boulevard Royals Live.
Thank you, Joel. And they will try and come back on a guy they beat when he was a member of the Toronto Blue Jays back on June 23rd. Really this year, 28 games in the American League, 2-4 record, 6.35 ERA. We told you they've had trouble with their bullpen this year, but in this series, if we take a look at that flashback, Whit Merrifield ripped it off the wall.
That's right. Maybe we can relive that magic. Really not overpowering. He's a veteran. How about that body slam there? Bonifacio gave Whitley.
And I remember talking with Whit after the game about his approach to Jason Grilli, and he told me, he said, well, stepping to the plate, I knew that Jason's best pitch was that 2-seam fastball, and the previous pitch he had run it in on me, and I said, if he throws that pitch again and it tails in, I'll be ready to turn on it. And he did, and ripped it down the line to drive in both Escobar and Gordon. The Royals were walk-off winners.
Do a little mounds grooming here.
Really, the very first pitch he threw, Hud, he stumbled. And then he's been working on that mound ever since.
Well, it's awfully dry by this time of the game. I mean, it's late. It's 9th inning. So got a little bit of water, maybe a little bit of moist clay. They'll kind of put in there and kind of make that landing a little bit easier and softer. And what it is it's a hole's developed there, and it can be dangerous. A pitcher could twist his ankle there if he's not comfortable, especially a veteran like Grilli. He's been on every mound there is in America. He knows. So they're gonna put a little bit of clay in there. It's a little moisture, a little tamper coming, a little bit of water, and then hear all that stuff coming. The tamper is a device they use that mashes the dirt down. You slam it down, you put a little moisture in there, and there you go, right here. Fix it up just like that. Trevor Vance's ground screw, one of the best in the business out here in the Midwest. Don't have the greatest weather conditions to take care of your field, but these fellows do a great job. Thank you very much.
So Grilli will go to work. He has retired all 6 batters faced in the 2 games with the Rangers. 4 strikeouts since joining the active roster on July 3rd. He was acquired in a July 2nd trade with Toronto, along with cash considerations in exchange for a minor league outfielder by the name of Edward Pinto. So he is ready. Throwing not a good one to the second baseman, but
really 90 to 92 with his fastball. He's a fastball slider, 2-pitch guy. You don't have to think too much up there. Look out over the plate.
he is a veteran, 40 years of age, and he has pitched in 37 different ballparks.
I knew it. I knew it. I'm telling you, a veteran like that, he's been around. But we'll see if the Royals can put a little run across the plate here. All they need is one. Eske, one more hit. He's at 230. Over. Set that table up. Don't have to do it all yourself. Although walk-off home run, pretty nice.
We saw Dale Swaim, the hitting instructor, talking with both Escobar and Alex Gordon and the guys coming up in this inning about what he has.
That's right.
Salvador Perez there checking the book out as well, who likely will be hitting for Drew.
The book and the tablet of knowledge. Eske with a good rip that first pitch. He looked like he was trying for a little walk-off homer.
He had a home run on Friday, and he swings and hits that one to right center field. It is going to drop, and the Royals have a chance here in the bottom of the ninth. Tied at 3, winning run on.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about the positioning out there with Chu. I mean, he was deep, and with Escobar, he's not a threat to go deep to right field at all. And that ball dropped by plenty. Look how deep. I mean, Chu was way back there. That's an out. Should have been.
Because we see a lot of right fielders play him very shallow.
Thank you. We'll take the gift. Let's see if the boys can move the line along. Salvador Perez reaching the on-deck circle.
That's Eske's 5th 3-hit game of the year. Now Gordon wants to advance him.
Put him at 331. Escobar now. That's good. Now let's just keep moving the line along here.
Really does have that two-seam fastball. He gets a lot of ground ball outs, and Gordon wants to keep it off the ground. Two and 0. Three balls and no strikes. Alex likely taking here.
Sometimes 3-0 is not a bad pitch to ambush. He's going to throw you a strike. No, we didn't. They'll take it.
How about that?
All right.
Wasn't even close. Nobody up in the Texas bullpen. And here comes Salvador Perez. This Texas bullpen has been plagued all year long, and now they have to face one of the best pinch hitters on the Royals. He's 5 for 11 in his career. More importantly, he's been ridiculous with runners in scoring position lately.
Gurley just has to be very effective with his location in order for him to get out of this mess here. Salvador Perez, he likes to swing early and often.
Punches it to left. Robinson drops the ball. He will get the force, though. I'm not sure why Escobar stopped. going towards third.
But I thought that he was going to catch the ball and tag him, and he didn't want to run into the easy out there. They wanted to keep it from not turning two. But still, Salvi's an aggressive hitter. He's going to swing early, but the transfer from glove to hand just didn't work out the way Robinson wanted it to. So he's able to take the out in front of him. Leave it up to Whitley. Why not? Yeah, Whitley's the one who got the hit back on June 23rd when Grilli was in a Blue Jays uniform.
And the same guys were on base, Escobar and Gordon. He scored both of them. All he needs is the one at second base. It was Witt's big hit in the 7th inning that gave the Royals a short live lead, as Texas would come back in the 8th and tie it on Mazzara's single. Strike one. Witt hit that two-seam fastball for the double that had the walk-off hit against Grilli back on June 23rd. So he starts him off with a slider. Oh, and 2.
Fans on their feet here at the K. This is a huge opportunity right here for the Royals to try to check in somehow, some way with a W. They've got to be able to keep the Rangers from beating them for the 13th straight time and break their 5-game losing streak.
Single by Escobar, a walk to Gordon. Alex at second base, Perez at first. And then he hits Merrifield in the back. The Royals have him loaded for the rookie Bonifacio. Boy, he had everything his way, the count his way.
Yeah, he definitely didn't want to do that. Now Whitley took it like a man. I like it. That's right. That's right. Just standing there and take it off the hood of the Cobra. That's right. There it is. Take it. Go to first base. Load him up with less than 2 and have a chance for a walk-off.
What is Jorge's approach here?
Look out over the plate and early. Lots of times you don't want to put the pressure. The pitcher does not want to put pressure on himself by throwing ball 1. They want strike 1. So look early and look to get some elevation. Don't want to hit it on the ground. Double play is not going to help you. So stay inside the ball. Don't roll the top hand. Shoot it to right center.
Strike 1. First pitch slider, much like he threw Merrifield. Gordon at third, Perez at second, Merrifield at first. The only one that matters is Alex at third.
Look at Lucroy, man. You know, it almost went between the wickets now, and it did kick off home plate umpire Paul Emmel's heel. Still, Bonifacio wants to do it right. Something up. Really, he's trying to keep the ball down. He wants to roll the double play.
with that slider.
Bonifacio, he had a very nice hit his first time up today off of Yu Darvish by going to the opposite field. That's exactly what he wants to do. Count 1 and 2. It's kind of shorten up the swing. Don't try to pull him, because lots of times that ends up into a ground ball double play. Grilly likely to go with his slider. Right side of the infield, they're in.
Way upstairs. 2 and 2.
Boy, literally could have taken one for the team there. That would have worked. But not where that is. That was a little bit too close to the chin. And what that is was a setup pitch. That inside trying to brush it back. Now Grilly wasn't trying to go that far up and in, but that sets up the slider away.
Seems like he's had better command of that slider than his two-seam fastball. Three and 2. One more of those. Game over. $22,163 on their feet at the K.
Okay, Grilly, he stayed firm and he's all fired up right now. He liked him. See a pitch by pitch, breaking ball, two-seamer. See, he's got some good movement on his pitches there, and he's doing a good job here. Now, that was a little setup pitch. Okay, there's the breaking ball down, almost got away, and then he stayed with a 92, the good runner across the middle. Showing a little bit of emotion there. As he's excited. He made a good pitch.
Now the Royals need a hit. For a ball in the dirt that gets away, allowing Gordon to score. Kane has been in a slump. Just 4 hits in his last 33 times up, so he is due. Royals do not have a hit with a runner in scoring position today. 0 for 8.
Due.
Ball 1. Disciplined hitters on the team this year. If he walks one more time, he will tie his career high. Gordon at third, the only man that matters. Strike in there, looked like Lorenzo was taken all the way.
Kane, he's just 1 for 8 with him loaded this year. He needs to get that hit here, be a big confidence booster for him.
That one hit was a grand slam in San Diego.
Yep.
To right field. Chu fighting that sun.
Yeah.
Drops the ball. Game over. Gordon scores. Can you believe it?
As a game-winning single, a walk-off, as the sun obviously played a huge part in that, but it doesn't matter. The Royals will take the win no matter what's called.
The sun has been a problem for fielders all day long.
Especially Lorenzo Kane.
And Kane made the catch every time, and Lorenzo then comes through with the game-winning hit. shoe blinded by the sun. Ball glances off his glove, and the Royals are walk-off winners, and they end the 12-game losing streak to Texas.
Yep. Better than that, they lose their own 5-game losing streak there. They started before the break. Now look at this. This is tough all the way. There's no question about that. He lost it right there. He never even saw it. He did all he could to probably get his glove on there. But hey, hang with him. Royals are winners today. It's beautiful. Give the boys a little something to celebrate. They've been playing some pretty good baseball in this series. They just were on the wrong side a few times.
Yeah, they lost on Friday 5-3, lost last night 1-0, and they win by 1 today. And a big win for the Royals. They're back at 500 at 45-45. And let's go to Joel.
Well, you take the hits any way you can get them, and as someone that fought the sun all day long, what was your thought off the bat there, Lorenzo?
Pop up right, you know. I just want to thank the sun for being right there. Appreciate it.
But Lo, you know how tough it was. What kind of challenge was Mother Nature in that sun today out there?
It's definitely tough. They say the sun is straight on you, so you do the best you can, try to battle, try to make plays, but like I say, sometimes it wins.
Hey, you take it however you can get it. I don't know where Salvi is. Your buddy should be showing up here at some point, right? Maybe not. How about the importance of today, too? I mean, some very close games here this weekend, but just to stop that skid in its tracks.
We definitely need a win today. Was on a tough losing streak there, so to get a win today was huge. So hopefully we just keep it going.
All right, we'll let you go cool off. Great job with the walk-off.
All right, thank you.
Hey, he'll take it anyway. Don't have to apologize for it, Fizz and Hud. It is a walk-off win for Lorenzo Cain and the Royals.
Absolutely, and when you are in desperate search of a victory after losing 5 straight, you'll take them any way you can, and with help from the sun, the Royals are 4-3 winners. We'll be right back.